Hello there. Today I'll show the short recap of a 2022 Spanish crime drama movie, A Man of Action. Get ready for the best part. Of course, the spoilers. Before getting into the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for daily updates. The movie is a true story of Lucio Urtubia, a Paris-based Spanish anarchist, bricklayer, and bank robber infamous for devising a large-scale scam aimed at the Citibank. The movies begin in 1962 with a woman named Anne driving her husband, Lucio Urtubia, to an airport. Lucio gets down from the car and heads inside the airport. Anne notices they are being followed by the police and quickly goes to meet Lucio to inform him. Lucio notices one of the police officers named Costello, who sees him also from afar and sends some detectives to go after him. Lucio and Anne are trapped, and to escape from the police, Lucio throws the money in the bag with him to the people around. The movie then rewinds to 20 years earlier, and a young Lucio runs from a farmyard after stealing some vegetables with the owner aiming a gun at him. Lucio's father, who is on a sick bed, calls him at night and talks to him about his deteriorating condition. The next day, Lucio heads to a bank with a knife to seek monetary assistance for his dad's treatment. The manager who recognizes him informs him they can't give him much money as they are not a charity organization. Lucio gets angry by these and points a knife at him. However, as he does this, he begins to pee on his trousers, and the manager advises him to go home. Lucio returns home and gets to find out his dad is dead. After his dad burial, his sister, Saturnina, leaves home for Paris so she can get to work and earn money, as Lucio has to stay behind to serve in the military. 10 years later, Lucio, now a fully grown man, heads to Paris to meet his sister, who is married to a man named Patrick. Saturnina introduces Lucio to Patrick, and he promises to help him in getting a job from a friend of his who is a foreman. The next day Lucio begins working as a laborer, and the foremans are surprised by his relentless effort in working. Finally, one of them walks to him and tells him to reduce his pace, but Lucio doesn't answer him, which prompts him to kick down the wheelbarrow containing bricks. Lucio picks the bricks back and continues working. While they are on break, the supervisors discuss with Lucio, and they ask him who he is. Lucio tells them he is a communist. However, one of the men tells him he is an anarchist as he doesn't like being ordered. In the next scene, they all set out to share some pamphlets with people, and one of the foremen explains to Lucio what it means to be an anarchist. He shows him different legends that have been anarchists in the past and also tells him about one still alive named Kiko Sabotage and how he stole $50,000 of money recently from a bank. In the next scene, Lucio meets with Kiko, who brings a suitcase with ammunition to his home. While eating, Lucio asks him about the story he heard of him stealing a lot of money from the bank. Kiko responds that he only took out $30,000 from the bank and that the banks only lied to get back double the amount he stole from insurance. However, Lucio admits he is right that he had also experienced such a case when he stole from a church, and the priest lied that he took double the amount. Kiko sees potential in Lucio, and they both head to rob a bank the next day. While Kiko is telling the cashier to put the money in his bag, he notices Lucio peeing on his trousers. He quickly goes to meet him to gear him up, telling him that the banks are the real thief and he should head to the counter to get money in his bag. They are able to get the money, and as soon as they are about to leave, Lucio falls while jumping from the counter and loses his gun. One of the customers in the bank is about to take it, but Kiko gets there in time to stop him and kicks the firearm back at Lucio. They both then leave the bank and head to Lucio's home in a taxi. While at home, Kiko explains to Lucio how the money is being shared in 3 parts. The first part goes to the local anarchist, the second to their friends in prison and families, and the third to them involved in the robbery. The next day, they both go to rob another bank, this time with a fellow friend waiting for them in a car. While coming out, they see police around, but the driver quickly pushes him and zooms off. A police vehicle goes after them, but Kiko is smart enough to shoot the tires, and they finally escape their claws. In the next scene, Inspector Costello's attention is drawn to a robbery attack in a bank. He goes to the bank and asks the manager if he can recognize the thief's face, but he says he can only remember one of the thief's voices and that they are Spanish anarchists. Meanwhile, the anarchists gather in a building at night, having a meeting as one of Lucio's boss addresses them. The police arrive at the scene and get to arrest some of them as others escape. Lucio is unable to flee with Kiko through a ladder and gets arrested. The police arrange for them all to speak the word the bank manager heard, and when it gets to Lucio's turn, the manager recognizes that he is one of the robbers. Costello goes to meet him to unmask himself and asks for his name. They then headed to his house to search for evidence but couldn't get any. Lucio tells them he is only a simple builder and has nothing to do with banks and robberies. This makes them release him as they couldn't get any evidence against him. Lucio heads to work the next day and asks one of his bosses about Kiko. He replies by telling him they removed all the evidence in his room by Kiko's order, and he has already left town. One man comes around and notifies Lucio that the police are around the site all because of him. They both reprimand him for the robbery attack and tell him to stop the action with Kiko, who is a fugitive. Lucio finally meets with Kiko, and while talking, Kiko informs him he will be going to Spain to continue his mission there. However, Lucio lets him know he won't be following him, and they both bid themselves goodbye. The next day, Lucio and two of his boss goes to the bank to seek a loan to buy a printing press. However, the bank manager tells them such can't happen as they have no property or fixed income, and they all leave. While leaving the bank, Lucio bumps into Costello, who informs him that he should check the newspaper. Lucio gets home and sees in the newspaper that Kiko was shot dead by the police during a robbery attack. This annoys Lucio, and he heads to a spot where Kiko's ammunition is kept with one of his bosses, and robs the bank they went to earlier. They were finally able to get the money to acquire the printing press. While at the press building, Lucio speaks with a woman named Jeanette and tells her he would like her to work with them. Germinal, one of Lucio's bosses, comes to meet him after hearing about the press he bought. He tells him that he will hand it over to the union to handle, but Lucio tells him such will not happen, and Germinal angrily leaves. Two ladies walk into the press to get their pamphlets, and before leaving, one of them hands a pamphlet to Lucio to join them. Lucio looks, and it reads University Strike. Lucio goes to the rally the next day, and while the lady addresses the public, an intoxicated young man talks dirty from afar, and Lucio shuts him up. After the rally, the lady walks up to him and thanks him for his action. Lucio asks if she would like to join his anarchist team, as they need an intellectual mindset like hers. The police arrive at the scene and begin to beat the citizens around. Lucio runs away from there with her and attacks one of the police that hit her. However, he also gets hit on his head and starts bleeding. They finally get close to a riverbank, and she helps him clean the wounds. Lucio introduces himself to her as a builder, anarchist, and bank robber. She is surprised to hear this, and Lucio lets her know it's not a joke. She then also tells him that her name is Anne, and she studies biology in school. Later that night, Lucio goes to her house, and they dance and lock lips together. In the next scene, the police watch Lucio and snap pictures of him and Anne together. However, while one of the detectives snaps Lucio and Anne, he sees the commissioner, who walks up to their car. He reprimands Costello for taking too much time to get evidence against Lucio. Costello promises him they will catch Lucio in the act very soon. Lucio comes up with the idea of printing fake dollars after Jeanette makes them all know that they can print counterfeit passports and other things in the press. He goes with Anne to see Patrick, and they know he is searching for a better job. Lucio tells him he has an offer for him as they would need an expert fabricator of bills like him to help print fake dollars. Patrick is initially reluctant to agree but finally agrees and tells them they must not allow his wife to know about it. They can finally make several copies of the fake dollar, and Lucio heads to a bank with Anne to exchange the money for francs. The cashier notices the money is new but can't detect it's fake and hands them over the exchanged money. Lucio and Anne begin to help their fellow people with the money, and as one of the women collects hers, her son looks at Lucio, which makes Anne notify him that she's also carrying his baby. Lucio is thrilled to hear this, and they celebrate together. Lucio meets with a woman about the fake dollar, who then directs him to a man who would help exchange everything. Lucio meets with the man in the airport, and he makes Lucio understand that his plan to collapse the United States Bank is not possible, and he leaves. Now we get back to the movie's beginning to how it all began and Lucio and Anne trying to escape the police claws. Lucio is able to get out of the airport, but he gets arrested as soon as he is about to enter a vehicle. Costello finally gets the evidence against him with the fake dollars, and Lucio gets charged to court and imprisoned. And meets him in jail with a lawyer who informs him he will get out of prison on bail soon as they have no record of him. Lucio finally gets out of prison and quickly runs to see his newborn baby girl, Juliet. 8 years later, Lucio, a well-known builder, does work and gets paid with a traveler's check. He is surprised about it as he expected to collect money instead. However, the man lets him know that it's the new norm and he can use it to get money from the bank. Lucio takes Anne shopping along with Juliet, who is now grown up. He doesn't have enough money to pay, but the woman sees the traveler's check with him and lets him know he can use it for payment. Lucio is surprised to learn this and then goes to meet his team members as he tells them his plan to print fake check copies. They are finally able to get several fake copies of it. Lucio tells Anne about it, but she disagrees with his plans and tells him he needs to stop all that for the sake of their daughter. Lucio doesn't listen to her and continues with his plan of going to a bank disguised to try the fake check out. The exchange came out successful, and he arranged for several people to also go to different banks at the same time so that they could get the copies with them exchanged without being noticed. The United States learned about the fake checks, and they sent one of their officials, Mr. Barrow, to head to Paris and sort it out. Mr. Barrow gets to Paris and meets with the police commissioner about the issue with the fake checks. The commissioner assures him they will get the perpetrators soon. The commissioner goes to meet Lucio to ask if he knows anything about the counterfeit checks, but he denies all and leaves in his car with Anne and Juliet. The police begin to follow Lucio around, and Anne tries to talk to him to stop his actions. Anne introduces Lucio to a director named Pierre, who is in charge of a traveling tour to Bolivia. Pierre lets Lucio know he needs like-minded and skilled people like Anne to join them on their tour, and Lucio lets him know they are still thinking about it. Anne lets Lucio know she will go ahead with the tour with their daughter and suggests he follows them, but Lucio disagrees with her. Lucio heads out and tricks the police from following him. He goes to meet his team at the press and tells them about them doing a final exchange of the whole money with them, and they can all retire. Lucio meets with a man named Tony to help them out with exchanging the money, and they both agree that Tony will collect 1/3 of the money. Anne tells Lucio she's finally heading to Bolivia and gives him a passport to join them if he changes his mind. Lucio heads to exchange the checks with Tony, but is caught by the police before getting to Tony, who is also arrested. Anne sends a letter to Lucio while he is in prison and informs him she arrived in Bolivia safely, and Juliet also misses him. Lucio gets charged to court but is able to find his way out of prison through a mistrial and is released on bail. Lucio then goes to confront Patrick as he feels he is the one who betrayed them. However, Patrick lets him know he's innocent, and Lucio later finds out that Tony tricked him as he was also a police detective. Lucio decides to print more fake checks, and Barrow is alerted of the situation as the checks have been found in Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and Mexico. Barrow arranges for Lucio's arrest and meets with him. Lucio offers him a deal to give him the tools used in printing the fake checks, and they pay him a huge sum of money and immunity. He then says if they disagree, he will continue with the printing, and there is nothing any of them can do to stop them, even with him in jail. The movie ends with Lucio meeting with Barrow and exchanging the tools for cash. Lucio celebrates with his team member and heads to Bolivia to unite with Anne and Juliet. So that is it for today, guys. Make sure to subscribe, and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.